Our topic for today is building a robust food supply chain through stakeholder collaboration for enhanced traceability and resilience. We thought a lot about the different aspects of supply chain, but we thought the most important issues that are facing the supply chain is the stakeholder collaboration, which is a very important factor for supply chains today globally, because we do cross-border and cross uh, commodity supply, food supply, all parts of the world, right? So, as you said, we have just introduced the speakers. So, just welcome once again. We have the agenda for today's webinar, which is introduction of farm to plate, APAC food chain, government oversight and compliance, impact of food supply chain on the environment, current industry trends for food supply chain systems, navigating the tomorrow, the future of food supply chains, best practices for enhancing food supply chain systems, the tech-driven supply chain, how it looks for tracking the emissions for enhanced efficiency. Then we have a short Q&A session with the guest speakers. Then we have a short presentation about how you can elevate the brand experience with farm to plate track and trace system, and a couple of features about farm to plate, and what are the problems and situation areas where farm to plate effectively solves the problem of disintegrated supply chains. Then we'll move on to the Q&A once again. So with that, just like to introduce Farm to Plate. So Farm to Plate is a subsidiary of Paramount Software, which is a 25-year-old US-based IT services organization, having large clients in the US, more than 80 plus blue chip clients, Fortune 500s. And we are headed by our CEO, Mr. Pramod Sajja. Farm to Plate is a supply chain visibility and sustainability management platform, which serves across the sectors of food supply chain, be it agriculture, dairy, processed food, F&B companies, seafood, and other categories. Uh, our, our foundation is based on blockchain and IoT. We help the end-to-end tracking of the logistics movement and the goods movement within the whole supply chain from the first mile to mid-mile to last mile. And we are reliant heavily on IoT integrations with the trucks that travel and also with the products, right? So looking at the couple of key uh, FDA regulations based in the US, the FSSI and FDA safety food standards in India, and Thailand has its own FDA regulations, Philippines and New Zealand. All of these countries have some exports also to the US, and US being the largest import economy, about two-thirds of its 1.5 trillion food supply chain is based on imports. So it is very mandatory for the some of the major Asian economies to also follow the US FDA norms. We looked at the overall impact of food supply chain on the environment, production, processing, transportation, consumption, and waste. Uh, Agriculture being the 30% usage for global land. 70% of the world's fresh water goes towards agriculture, and 24% of the global GHG emissions are because of agriculture, right? Similarly, food processing is heavily reliant on fossil fuels, which variably emits GHGs by region and food. Then transportation have about 5 to 7% impact on the carbon footprint. This is specifically about food transport. Consumption levels are about 222 millions for the developed nations, with about it's resulting in methane emissions. The global waste is about 1.3 billion tons for the resource depletion, which contributes to resource depletion and greenhouse gas emissions. The current industry trends for food supply chain systems, what does it has, what are the new upcoming trends? We wanted to discuss these areas. So basically, digital integration and technology adoption, data analytics, IoT, blockchain, AI, that is having a high impact on the entire supply chain across the Asia Pacific today. We see that about 40% of the e-commerce growth is happening in Asia, with about D2C specifically. We have certain large focus on sustainability initiatives. There are a lot of initiatives going at the government level, at the Euro level, around the carbon emissions tracking and carbon offset programs. The regulatory compliances are kicking in, especially in the US. FSMA Bill is the guy who's working with the FSMA agenda in the US. We have supply chain visibility, which is a prime importance, tracking and monitoring the inventory to minimize the wastage. As we saw in the previous slide, that there is about globally 1.3 tons of food wastage. The cold chain expansion is happening at a very rapid rate at about 16.39% from the last year, and it's going to be uh, much exceeding at CAGR of 16.39%. All the supply chains are required to build collaborative networks to support the local economies. There's a huge shift towards plant-based alternatives. Consumer demands in driving the growth of the plant-based organic foods. What does the supply chains of tomorrow look like? There's heavy adaptation towards climate change. Uh, the population and population growth demands, basically, they're meeting the needs of the increasing food consumption. There's a heavy shift in dietary preferences that we see due to rising demand in plant-based organic foods. Geopolitical influences definitely affect the global trade. Uh, Emphasis on reducing carbon footprint and waste in food production and distribution is one of the key focus when it comes to sustainability, because that is what will drive our future for a greener future. Technology advancements in all the areas with respect to AI, IoT, blockchain, and supply chain efficiency the uh, is there in the cards tomorrow. Some of the best practices that we are seeing across Asia Pacific: risk management, training and development on emerging technologies and practices. Local sourcing is one of the key agendas for lowering the carbon footprint, as it's the maximized local sourcing will avoid long transports. The quality control mechanisms are kicking in place for the product integrity and trust. Diversified sourcing, of course, there is a heavy reliance on diversifying the resourcing from multi geographies, multi suppliers, and there is a heavy investment in infrastructure for the technology integration and adaptive demand responses. Uh, just a quick overview of how does the total supply chain, integrated supply chains look like, at least from the logistics perspective, from the goods movements perspective. So we see that there's a heavy reliant on temperature monitoring for cold storage, real-time tracking, pilferage detection, instant emergency alerts. A lot of these problems are being solved by control tower and digital twin solutions. The reporting, the point-in-time reporting is a very important agenda. Location tracking, light exposure monitoring, and regulatory compliance. These are some of the integrated solutions that are kicking in for the future. Now, I'd like to switch over to the guest speakers, Mr. Prajnesh and Mr. Milind. Thank you so much once again, and I'll be asking you certain questions. Mr. Prajnesh, this question is for you. What are the top 3 trends shaping the global food supply chain today? Would love to have your views on this. You're on mute.
Rahul is muted.
Sorry?
I think he's muted.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today here. Basically, this supply chain, right now at this stage of thing, as you explained this, the rise of tech-powered efficiency. So basically, tech is shaping a very, big important role in supply chain right now. Basically, data is king right now. Everything is, predictive analytics. We're using past data to, see market trends, how it is happening and all. So this empowers, when we're using data and, power of tech and AI softwares, blockchain technology in this supply chain industry now. So this empowers business to optimize inventory management, minimize food waste, streamline logistics. So basically, I deal with a lot of fresh food items, and we are supplying to all the major, modern trades. So they are using softwares and tracking past data, like past year data, to generate what is the requirement for the next day, like how many amount of pomegranate they need for next day, or how many amount of let's say any fruits like apple or any vegetables. So they are using this take before it like it was just manually, and so there used to be so much wastage happening. But right now we are seeing a lot of take happening in supply chain, and mostly it is going to maintaining data and specifically using in predicting what is the quantity of usage of.
Sure.
And then right now, like see a lot of I'll talk about India only. So India is like getting urbanized very fast. Like we are seeing the purchasing power is like increasing. So that is leading to like customer demand is like increasing. People are more wanting more locally sourced, organic, sustainable, no animals harmed, paraben free. So there are a lot of like small things they want in their product. So this translates into a so we are seeing a lot of like what is that controlled environment agriculture happening because of this thing, because people don't want like adulterate products anymore. They want the products, they want to track their products, where their products are, like where the products are coming from. They want to see which like region it is coming from. So there is a lot of like voice coming from consumers. They want specific products. This third thing is that is very much happening in agricultural space specifically. Like we're seeing a lot of controlled environmental agricultural happening in India specifically, and this is majorly because we are dealing with climate changes. A lot of pollution happening, which is affecting the climates, and the climates are not sustainable anymore. So the produce that is happening, it is getting hampered. So we are seeing a lot of trend happening in controlled environment agriculture happening in India. So there are a lot of so I'll name few companies. There is one company called Simply Fresh. So they produce hydroponics leafy vegetables. So they have a tech-enabled system which provides nutrition in a protective environment, and their product, the amount of produce they get, you can't get it in a normal environment.
Sure.
So there are major things that are happening in supply chain, because the demand and the time that is happening, and everything is, see, basically right now we can see that climate is affecting the supply chain right now, and the consumer demands, because the purchasing power is increasing and people are getting more conscious. I think specifically after the internet boom that came after Geo in India. So people are very much aware about things before it was not that much, but right now people want to know about everything. Like the thing Farm to Plate is doing also, to availability, that tracking system. Like, see, I also want to know where my vegetables is coming from, where my food is coming from. Before it was used, like it was it used don't used to matter that much, but right now we see a lot of adulteration. So I want to know where my milk is coming from. So you will see a lot of ad in milk also, like for Country Delight and these people, Seed Farm, I'll name few company. They are putting like this adulteration thing in ad also. Our milk is coming from this particular place. In Fresh to Home, they supply meats and fresh foods, like fishes and seafoods. You will see they are seeing like letting people know where the fish is coming from, which exactly region of the India the produce is coming from. So people are getting very much aware about what they are going to consume, and it is playing a very big role in the supply chain industry right now.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your views. So back to Similin. Similin, I wanted to know, what are the unique challenges and opportunities in sourcing raw material for the food supply chain today? Can you highlight some of those challenges?
Yeah. First of all, good morning, everyone. My name is Milind Gupta, and just want to give a brief introduction about myself. So I have close to like 12 plus years of experience in the supply chain domain, especially in the FMCG industry. Currently, I am working as a Vice President Supply Chain and Procurement for Open Secret. We are a F&B brand, food and beverage brand, and a junking brand for the country, especially based out of India, major markets in India and Middle East. And yeah, and then And I got the opportunity to work with companies like Alliance to set up Geomart, companies like milkbasket.com, agri company like WeGrow. I was a consultant at KPMG. So brief introduction about myself. Now come back to the topic. Obviously, in terms of the challenge, I per se, I restrict myself to the raw material challenge, which we are facing in the food supply chain. And primarily, there are three challenges which we are facing in the raw material food supply chain, which is the seasonal variability, because seasonal variability in the raw material when we are procuring for the food supply chain is on a very high side, primarily because of the seasonal fluctuations, and hence the challenge is to maintain a consistent supply throughout the year, which is very important and very kind of a critical aspect for us as the raw material procurement professionals. Second is the price volatility. So as we know, the commodity price are fluctuating based on the crops harvesting, based on the seasons, and hence it has a direct impact on the end consumer as well. And for a company like us who are into packaged goods, it's difficult to pass on that fluctuations every time to the end consumer, and hence it is difficult for us to manage that price volatility as well certain times. And third, which is the most important, is the quality control, because contamination, spoilage, quality issues during like sourcing, during transportation, storage, these are creating a very high risk in terms of the health issues as well as financial loss as well.
Right.
As far as opportunities are concerned, definitely there are a lot of opportunities, but again, I restrict myself to 2 to 3 opportunities. Number one opportunity, I believe, is the innovation which is required in the agriculture practice. Because nowadays it is important that we should collaborate with the farmers in doing precision farming, vertical farming, other regenerative agriculture practices, which can increase not only the efficiency for the farmer, but should involve sustainable practices and should not impact the environment as well. Now, very much important for us to have a end-to-end, as my friend has already mentioned, it is very much important that we should have a traceability and transparency across the supply chain, especially in the food, because nowadays people really want to track what is happening in the backward of the supply chain. Hence, the backward integration of the supply chain is becoming very critical these days. Nowadays, just scanning the QR code, you can know, and you are in a position to know that from which farm, which date we have procured a particular produce. And especially if you talk about Asia Pacific market, India is still in a developing stage, because I have worked with markets like Japan, South Korea, Singapore, and these markets are already in a developed stage, and hence these practices are already involved. Because their consumers are more mature in terms of focusing on the sustainable practices, organic practices, and we are also reaching, especially if we talk about top 10 cities of the country, consumers, the disposable income is on a higher side, and hence we are also reaching at that stage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. Pranesh, would love to also know from you. Can you identify key differences in the APAC food supply chain compared to other regions?
Yeah. So basically, I personally think, I have not worked outside of India. So whatever supply chain things I have done, it is inside India only. But I have dealt with a very important produce, that is fresh items. So I have dealt all my 4 or 5 years in fresh items only. So I will tell this. So in India, specifically or Asia part, it is very different from the rest of the world, because in rest of the world, if you go to Europe and USA specifically, you will see farmers are very large group. It's like you'll see a farmer having 1,000 acres of land, he is doing only farming and all. But in India, you will see, specifically in the Asian countries, you will see there is no large scale farms in India. So it is very smallholder dominance is there, small farmers are there, and that brings another challenge to the part. Normally it is a differentiator also, it is a challenge also. So majorly when you are dealing with a large farm kind of situation, there is certain things you can there will be some formal market, there will be quality will be controlled, everything will be. But when you are dealing with Asia specific market, where there are thousands of players, thousands of farmers in a specific region. I'll take an example of Chikbalapur. Specifically, we procure a lot of pomegranate from there. So there are almost 100 to 150 farmers who are doing farming of pomegranate, grapes, and all that. And the produce varies from one farmer to other farmer. So it brings a lot of challenge when they are dealing with fresh produce, because the quality is not consistent from farm to farm, because some farmer is taking care of it properly and some is not. So that brings a challenge, and it is a differentiator. You will not see that in Europe and USA part of the world, because there you will see the person who is doing farming, he will have 1,000 acres of land and he will do a lot of the, it is more organized there and it is not organized here. But right now we are seeing a lot of movement in organization. I'll name few company, like recently Ninja Cut, they raised a lot of money and they are doing contract farming. So they are integrating a lot of farms together, taking together, and they are implementing technology to them, like they're giving technology to them and trying to bring quality and a standardization in agricultural, which is not present right now in India. And another thing that we'll see in Asia Pacific region, as Milind said earlier, so rapid urbanization is happening. So a lot of development is happening in Asia region right now. Like China, it is almost like peaked, and India is on the way to the peak. So a lot of urbanization is happening, and people are demanding. The supply chain has to be very. Right now, it is should be very fast. Like I will take the example of Zepto. So people are, if I don't get my delivery in 10 minutes, people are getting very frustrated right now. Okay, it is 11 minutes, 12 minutes. So right now, so demand is getting so much higher in Asia Pacific region. It is already, you will not see that in US and Europe country, because it is already developed and everything is present there. The system is there. Right now, to accommodate this rapid urbanization, a lot of tech integrated supply chain is happening. People are starting services in logistics, specifically in cold chain service. You'll see a lot of cold chain services rising in India. That used to not be there in India before, but it will. You will see this in the other part of the like world.
Okay,
And
great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for deep insights there. Milind, coming back to once again to you. Do you highlight some of the examples as well as the process or methods that you use for meeting the sustainability demands in supply chain operation across the Asia Pacific segment?
See, as far as sustainable practices are concerned, I mean, Asia, one thing that I want to highlight is APEC specifically. Wastage of food is a big problem for us. I mean, we have seen that data shows that approximately 20-22% food which is wasted, and hence it is important for the companies to bring this into account and how we can, and this is an opportunity as well, how we can make this an encash opportunity in the future. It is very important for us as well. Right now, these things will lead us to sustainability if we reduce or if we recycle the food, which is very much important for us. As far as sustainable practices concerned, definitely an efficient logistics and distribution is very important across the Asia Pacific, because when you optimize the transportation and the distribution network, it will definitely reduce your greenhouse gas emission and it will minimize your environmental footprint. Also, a sustainable sourcing practice is very important for the companies. They should, because see, agri products are primarily used by the food companies as well as the personal care companies across the globe, and hence these companies, they should focus on sourcing raw material sustainably. Either via local communities, as you have already mentioned in your earlier slides, and this will also these companies, because the team over here, they are more mature, they have more understanding of sustainable practices, and hence for these companies it is important they should collaborate with the farmer and they should work with them if they really want to implement these sustainable practices across the supply chain.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Milind. That was a great answer. Rajnish, going back to you, can you tell us what are the consumer food preferences in APAC? Sorry, how do the consumer food preferences are influencing the local food supply chain strategies?
So basically, right now in specifically in Asia Pacific region, we are seeing a lot of demand for freshness and local sourcing. So they're increasingly seeking fresh, locally sourced produce. So this, like translates to need of a improved cold chain infrastructure that I already said. So
Okay.
we need to, because see, when transporting fresh produce, locally sourced produce, you need to have a cold chain supply chain to maintain the quality. When the end consumer is getting it, this quality should be maintained. Then we are seeing a lot of focus on sustainability. Like people are very much uh, like concerned about how they are getting their food, like how they are getting their produce, which package they are getting it, and how it is farmed. If anybody like it is, so there are a lot of organic farming, eco-friendly packaging. It is also growing in this segment. Then there is a rise in online grocery, like online fresh delivery system. We can say that growing e-commerce is happening a lot of in APAC, like Asia Pacific region. So which translates to also the same thing, effective logistics. You have to, maintain this. You have to actually sustain the make a sustainable supply chain to adopt all these things. Because when you don't have a tech integration in supply chain, when you don't have people who are ready to like as Milind said, we have to go and talk to the farmers, get integrated to them, understand, make them understand about the sustainable farming and sustainable supply chain thing. Then only we can adopt all these changes that is required in a pack system, like organic produce ka demand.
Got it. Thank you so much, Prajnesh. I think we had great views on the local food sourcing and more organic products, involvement of cold chain in this. So one another question back to you, Milind. How do you see the some of the best practices for efficient and cost-effective food supply chains within the processed food and the retail?
Sorry, I didn't get.
So, what are some of the best practices for efficient, cost-effective food supply chains in processed food, like the FMCG or the retail category?
Yeah. See, as we rightly said, data is the king, and hence it is important for the food supply chain to have a great demand forecasting techniques available. And because see, right now one of the major problems which we are facing as a food supply chain is we do not have a data available at every source or every activity involved. Right now it is not available, and hence it is really difficult for us to predict what will going to happen next year if we really have to procure something. So long-term forecasting techniques are available, but still if you see the forecast efficiency in food supply chain is less than 60% in most of the scenarios, primarily because we do not have that much data available. When that is the root cause of it, and hence right now to make our supply chain cost effective and efficient, we have to involve as much as data as possible. We have to go as much as deep as possible, and demand forecasting should not be just based on the standard practices of demand forecasting which is there. It should require much more variability, much more data to bring out that particular number, which we can both in terms of the demand, also in terms of the pricing, which is a factor of demand. Also, what is important that we should involve strategies to optimize the inventory by putting strategies like just-in-time kind of inventory or lean practices to minimize the inventory carrying cost and waste. Because inventory, specifically in food supply chain, is a ticker time bomb, because it's a shelf life driven product, and hence from the way we harvest the produce, the ticker time starts, and it is very much important for us. Third, we have to involve our quality control and food safety practices, and this should not be a part which should be involved at the end of the supply chain. It should be introduced in the beginning of the supply chain itself. For example, at the time when we are producing, so that we should get maximum yield from the farmer itself. And hence it will not only increase the productivity, it will also bring down the cost, which will have a direct impact on the end consumer. So we will not only give that best price to the end consumer, we will also provide them the best experience. And hence it is very much important that we as a leader, we should focus more on the backward of the supply chain rather than on the forward part, because forward part is more or less settled. As a country like India, we are on a growing stage, and more or less, if I would say, it is on a settled stage, and there is also a scope of improvement, but on the backward end, yes, it is on a higher side.
Got it. Got it. Lovely. Thank you. I think there's a follow-up question since you mentioned about the costs also involved in. So I would want to understand, specifically around the first mile, which is the backward integration with the farmer or with the tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers. Tracking from the source from the farm to the warehouse or from the seashore or the seafood markets to the. How do you see the cost of integration of IoT? Impacting the supply chain? Is there a rapid adoption? Is there a slow adoption?
See, there will be a slow adoption, Rahul, frankly telling you, because initially, this food and beverage industry is a very thin margin industry. So, like I said, again, I'll divide into food into two parts. One is the direct consumption of the FMCG products in the form of food and beverage, whether it is packed or not packed. And second is the personal care. Now, the personal care is a very high gross margin industry, and hence they have that leverage to implement multiple technological aspects, and they can take a first mover advantage as well. But when we talk about food industry, specifically direct consumption of food and the packaged food, we are a very thin margin industry. Our gross margin is hovering around in the range of 60 to 70%, or the range is even 40 to 70%. Right. And especially in the commoditized market, the margins are quite thinner. It is in the range of like 40%, 45%, and hence adopting any new technology will have a direct impact in a short term, will have a direct impact on the margins. So that's why we are a slow mover. We definitely don't want to take a first mover advantage. Once we know, okay, these kind IoT practice, because I know one of my clients, I don't want to name, and I was in KPMG 5 years back, and we have implemented IoT for them in the Philippines agri fields of pineapple, and just to get a long-term perspective and what is the size of the pineapple we're gonna get based on the data which we'll get from there. These practices very, very important, but the problem is, especially a country like India, we cannot, once we know the results, okay, within 5 years timeline, we'll get a saving of somewhere around like 10%, 12% by investing 3% in this technology, which is effectively 9% CAGR for us in the future. And hence we will involve ourselves into that. But again, like I said, we cannot be a first mover. We will be a second mover into it as a food supply chain.
Got it. Thank you so much. That was very insightful. Prajnesh, one last question on about managing the diverse teams in the complex food supply chain. How do you ensure that there's effective collaboration and effective communication across the food supply chain stakeholders, be it the suppliers or the distributors, and the in-house, the manufacturing and the logistics and distribution stakeholders, specifically with respect to any point in time breaches and point in time damages or delays?
We have we right now in what we are doing in my organization. So we are dealing with fresh producers. So we are actually exactly in number we are almost producing around 800 to 1,000 liters of juices and almost 10,000 cut fruits and cut vegetable boxes every day.
Okay.
So this is one thing we are doing every single day. We are transporting. So the first challenge that is coming is as Milind said, it is from the procurement part only. So for juices, I will take an example of watermelon. So there is a certain weight category, 2 to 2.5 kg is the perfect weight when we get. So I'll explain this. So we are doing cold presses juices. So we don't add any water or preservative anything. So it is just watermelon you are getting. So we have to procure the exact specs of the items. For pineapple also there is 3 varieties that we get. Like when you go to pineapple, you are getting it from Badakulam, Kerala. So there are 3 variety you get, A variety, B variety, and C variety. So there are certain varieties. So there are specs. So first thing that we have done is, as a team, we have decided what are the exact space that gives the best yield or the most yield, and we try to procure it from the market. So that is the first thing. And after it comes to the factory, you will see that another challenge that erupts is the food safety thing. Like how you are handling. So when you're dealing with food, specifically fresh produce, now it is like a ticking bomb. Like after it is getting it from the trees, it is like, like it is a bomb to go off. So you have to either consume it or, deploy it somewhere immediately, like as quick as possible.
Or a write-off.
Yes. So the main thing is ki how you are handling helps a lot of things. So I'll give an example of fruits is pomegranate. So when you touch a lot, like when you touch bare hand, you touch a lot of fruits now, it tends to go bad very fast. So we have trained our staff to handle it properly with gloves and how to put it. You can't just throw it away. So you just throw it. It will there's some bruises will come and it will ruin all the baskets. So there are the food safety is the second important thing. Then when you are producing this produces, for example, we are doing peeled pomegranate. Let's say we're making a box. So how you are handling the produce, because as an end consumer, he should the person who is consuming, he should have the best quality product. So when you're handling, like when you're peeling it off, you need to have so we have specific safety procedures like SOP, standardized procedures, how the staff should operate, how it to like you have to have the safety gears on, at which temperature the production should happen. And then comes the logistics part, because after the production you also have to transport it to somewhere, and the transportation should be at the temperature. For example, I take the example of juices. So as we don't add any preservative, so the juices need to be maintained at a temperature of 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. So that's how they will be able to sustain for 2 days. So the shelf life is 2 days only, but the temperature should be maintained at 2 degree to 4 degrees Celsius.
Right.
So we have done our quality analysis, and we have a standardized procedure for everything. Like at this temperature, this thing should be done. At this specs, the raw material should be procured. That's how we manage this whole system in this. And the most important thing that people are not talking anymore, it is to build a good team. See, after whatever product you can make, the team is very much important. I personally think in supply chain, the team matters a lot, because as much as technology you can put in a system, at the end there should be some kind of person who is involved in delivering these things, who is involved in the transportation of the things, and that person should have the some kind of knowledge and have the proper understanding. So you have to train your staff, you have to train your team, and have a standardized procedure, and like food safety things. That's how you make a good like sustain this.
So is there any involvement of technology there at the moment in terms of collaboration?
See, right now there is so there before like 6-7 months back, there was a very big problem that we are facing. So basically, in fresh produce, there are a lot of discards we do in our system also. So like in farmers' case, when they are harvesting, there will be some kind of discard. Then after it reaches us, there will be receiving discard. So we take call it as a receiving discard. So when my quality person, like one produce is coming and entering my factory, so my quality person is checking, and if the quality is not good, it is then returned to the farmer. So that is called the receiving discard. After it goes to the like inside the factory for production. So there are some other discards are also coming, like the quality is not good. For example, I'll take an example of papaya. So papaya, basically the specs is to get a right consistence of bricks well. So papaya, we measure the proper good quality on the level of bricks value. So bricks value is basically the sugar content in a fruits. So for the right stage of papaya, the bricks value should be 12 to 13. It should be there. So to maintain that, you have to cut it and sample it. But there is another specs that you can look. The papaya should have 4 to 5 yellow stripes on it. So papaya used to be green. When it ripens, it starts getting yellow. So when it has like 4 to 5 yellow stripes, it is best for my particular need. So in my team knows that this is the best quality to do. But sometimes when you cut it open, you find it is not ripened, and it is like semi-ripened, it is hard, it is white in color. So it gets to discard. So a lot of discard used to come in specifically our industry. So we have integrated a system. So what we are doing right now is that we have built a in-house software thing which tracks like in a month, specifically in a month, how much quantity of produce we are receiving and how much discard is getting done. And at that, like according to that, we actually talk to the vendors. So it is it actually gives a number to one of the vendors. So basically, we have started it as a rating system like 10 to 8. So it gets a percentage value, takes a percentage value, ki this vendor is giving 90% good produce. And so, but the thing is ki bad thing is ki we have to put the data manually there, like how
Right.
much we are getting and everything is done. That is not automated, but it gives a percentage ki this vendor is good and this vendor is not good, supplying not good. And it also shows that ki so we have also built a system for our inventory, like this is also in-house. We have not taken it from it outside, so we have built it in-house. So it shows us like how much stock it is is with us right now, and out of that stock how much is good quality. So how we make sure ki it is good quality or bad quality. So when we're receiving the stock in our factory, so we are putting small QR codes on the fruits while receiving only. For like fruits like pineapple and everything, we are putting it in crates, and for fruits like watermelon, we are putting it on fruits only, like single fruits we are putting it on. So the specs is already specified for every single items, like there is particular specs. So according to that, what the person who is receiving it is putting the data, this is good quality, this is good quality, and this much amount is going inside. So the QR code actually transports to it gets connected to the software. So when the person, like specifically for me, I don't have to track, go and track in the ask someone ki how much quantity is received today and which is good quality. So I just have to go to the software interface and I can see it ki before in inventory it was like this much, like 80 kg of good quality was there, and out of which right now also received another 100 to 150 kgs of fruit is received, which is good quality. So we can track it, and when we are supplying also the QR code is going with the products only. So the consumer right now, they can also scan it off and they can see ki this produce is coming from this place and it is sourced at this date, like 21 for if it is sourced, the exact date and exact place they can see it right now. But like the information we are putting it is manually only to the software, like this. So this is not automated, but we are trying to get it done, and you are also trying it to get it done with this trackability feature. Because right now a lot of, so as you are dealing with this fresh produce, so everybody wants to know ki what they are consuming. See, I'll tell one person this, he questioned me. So we don't add any preservative or sugar, anything in our juices. But he questioned me ki where you are getting your fruits. It doesn't have any like trackability, like if the person who cultivated the fruits applied fertilizers or not, I don't know that, and which part of it is coming from. Like when you procured it, you are saying fresh. So what do you mean by fresh? If it is procured 1 month back or 2 months back or 15 days back or 2 days back, there is no trackability. So we are trying to build that up to have that system which shows the key this fruit that you are consuming, it is produced like harvested 2 days back and procured 1 day back and something like that. So we are trying to build it.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us a detailed description and specifically mentioning out the use of QR codes and the measurable technology to sort of evaluate the product, the produce, and also how do you track it across the whole procurement cycle. Thank you so much. With that, I'll quickly move to the next part of the presentation, which I'll just take 5 minutes with that, and with that we'll then jump to the questions that our audiences have, right? So just quickly touching on the areas that farm to plate covers. So we have end-to-end supply chain management where we have 4 primary modules, which is trace, track, trade, tip, and trust, right? The trace module covers the end-to-end traceability of the supply chain, effective recalls, and the getting the proof of origin of the food. Then the track, which readily sort of tracks the entire food in the supply chain from the first mile to the last mile. The trade is a supplier reconciliation and supplier automated reconciliation management and automated invoice payments that we are bringing in. And once giving back to the farmer, we have introduced a tip feature which talks about tipping back from the consumer to the from the last mile customer to the first mile farmer or the seafood procurement guy or the fisherman, right? And trust module is also around building a more safer way to ship the food to the consumer by using features like QR code integration and mobile based lots tracking. Okay, so just move on to the next slide. How you can elevate brand experience with farm to plate. Basically, we talk about transparency. Offering full visibility with farm to plate reassures consumer about product quality and origin. Consumer trust, where we make sure that you get the proof of origin of the food and the various cycles that it goes through during the procurement, during the production, and during the distribution. We have sustainable practices, so we sort of we track sustainable practices across the supply chain. So we have features like soil testing. We have features like tracking the carbon emissions across your food supply chain. We put a tech forward image where by leveraging farm to plate advanced systems, it will give you a forward thinking, innovating and brand ethos. Also, we help you, define your market differentiation with regards to the certification of the products, that they have the whole original processing information on the QR code. And then we also make sure that there are compliance and safety adherence with respect to the risks of procurement or distribution. And of course, elevating the problem of potential recall mismanagement, right? Um, these are the key areas, the key value drivers that we look at from farm to plate, end-to-end tracking and traceability. We look at the operational efficiency, increasing the profitability, improving the market access, brand loyalty, risk mitigation, and enabling data-driven decisions. Right. Our vision is to build the future ecosystems of food supply chains. We want to empower all the participants to better manage their supply chain with respects to their functional requirements. Let's say with regards to specific companies that do their own farming, with we have examples like NKG Coffee, who procures coffee from India, and they need the certification for all the organic soil testing, and they use our device, soil testing device, for checking the NPK compounds and the carbon compounds, and certifying the organic viability of the soil. And apart from that, we have a couple of other key features like the multilingual mobile app for different regions of, right now we have built it for the Indian languages. We'll also be building it for the different Asian languages and the global languages, in fact. We also have features like document management, GHG emission tracking, loyalty rewards, expiry management, and promotions management. This is a high level USPs that we bring on the table with respect to track. We have GPS integrated live logistics tracking and monitoring, QR enabled end-to-end traceability with blockchain immutability. We have offline enabled app which does the lot tracking via offline enabled app with original proof of origin. So if your farmer or fisherman is at a remote location where there is a problem of uploading the images in the system, what we can do is we can take the live images of the stock with the help of an offline mobile enablement, which where we capture the timestamp and the true pictures within the app. We don't allow any uploads from the gallery to the app. Okay, and whenever the fisherman or the farmer comes in a network area, the pictures automatically of the lot automatically get uploaded onto the system with the actual timestamps, right? And then we have QR code based farmer stakeholder and customer engagement for visibility and brand trust. Soil testing feature, as I already mentioned previously with the NKG example. We have end-to-end journey mapping from pre-sales to tech support. User engagement, end-to-end from farmers and suppliers, users and stakeholders and customer. We also have, as we discussed, multi-localized web mobile app with geo-mapping features. And we make sure that the system helps you adhering to the procedures like FDA compliance or FSMA in the US. Some of the key areas that we look at, the negative problems or negative situations or loss-making situations, are the sales losses, missing lots per order, substandard or poor quality products at the pause, contaminated after shelf life food, as Mr. Milind had also discussed for food process, the processed food supply chain, right? And damage to the food brand as well as to the other customers. And we look at solving these features by live tracking, ET estimation, helping in strategic supply chain planning, traceability through end-to-end management, labeling compliance, monitoring, recall management, and efficient recall logistics, reverse logistics. Sorry. This is one of the disruptive soil testing features. What we have partnered with AgroNext, which is to come up with this product, and this is a IIT Kanpur based developed product, and it is a patented product. Where it helps is bringing down the time of soil testing from 15 days to under 90 seconds per test, where you don't have to go to the laboratory. You can just check the details on a mobile app within the 90 seconds per sample. You can do about 100 to 250 tests per day using this, and it gives the report about the NPK, organic carbon, clay, and CEC. And also it brings down the cost of per scan from 300 rupees to about 30 rupees per scan. These are the distinctive features that I already discussed: offline mobile enabled app, QR codes, multi-stacking customizable screens and fields. So we have a feature called as demand-based feature integration, where whatever important features for the persona-based or the stakeholder-based functionality is driven, we can do the hot plugging of those features, right? We have a couple of key features for the mobile apps, is dark mode enabled, and also we have the entire offline user enabled app for restricted user functionality. A couple of platform features. We are 100% AWS cloud native. We have we do a rapid cloud deployment. We can create the environment for you within 24 hours to go live, and as low time for you to get started sending the invitations. So the invitations are sent from within the app to the other stakeholders like the suppliers or the distributors. You just have to key in their email IDs, and the link will go to them for onboarding them with agreement from them, of course. We have minimal latency and responsive product integrations, and it's completely stakeholder-driven custom configurations that we take care of at Farm to Plate. With regards to partnerships, we have done a couple of partnerships at the GS1, IFMA, which is International Food Service Manufacturing Association in the US. We are partner of Hyperledger, also with the AgroNXT for the soil testing device, and we are also partnered with the Royal Family of Royal Kingdom of Dubai and the Ministry of Saudi Arabia for driving specific government level, government level regulations for the food supply chains for sustainability. Right, a couple of awards. Mr. Saprishi was there on the call a few minutes back, so he was awarded as the Global Asian of the Year, and these are our CEO Pramod Sajja, who is also awarded as the Global Indian of the Year 2021-22. With that, I end my presentation, and I'm back to the audience to asking the questions to our speakers. So the floor will be open for all of the audiences to ask the questions.
Hi, this is Sanjeev this side, and my question is to Mr. Prasiti, right? That's the
It is
Okay.
pronounced as Pragyan. You can call
Okay,
me
sorry.
Pragyan.
Okay, Pragya. Pardon me if I've spelled it wrongly. Yeah. So about me, I'm a veteran from FMCG, and after spending over 40 years in the organized sector at a director level, I understand the food chain and the FMCG like back of my hand. But since market is so dynamic, and one has to learn every day, and I was just relating to the food processing in watermelon, and you said pineapples. It took me to the time when I was working, as a CEO for a company into Tetra Pak, and we did the same thing. And we used to face these kind of challenges when we were actually, dealing with the first produce of, fresh pineapple juice. It was a byproduct when Africa has a lot of, raw pineapple for exporting. And what they did was they exported the slices, but as you cut the slices, there was, drippings. And those drippings were, yes, the juice. So now that juice was in tons. So what they did was they blast froze it and kept it aside without realizing what to do with it. So when I checked with that company and I found that there were tons and tons of it, And in Africa, you don't get a lot of processed food, right away, because the lead time is about 3 to 6 months before you produce and place an order and get the LC confirmed and the shipment done. So we reconstituted that into Tetra Pak. So that was one innovation which we did. And I said, this is appropriate time to share this knowledge with you, where, the 12 bricks were reconstituted back with adding, sugar. So the bricks were about 8 to 9, with this kind of produce. So bringing it, reconstituting it with fresh sugar and bringing it back, and then using it as, very robust mechanism was a great learning there. And another thing which I would like to add to your knowledge, or maybe that will help you, that or it's a question otherwise, what do you do with the papaya which is half ripe?
So right now, we used to have a lot of wastage on papaya. Specifically, I'm facing a lot of issues in papaya only because papaya. So I'll tell you this: the papaya, the product that we are doing is diced papaya, and we are using it to make salads that we are supplying it to all the big chains like Big Basket, Swiggy, Zepto, Blinkit, and all the modern trades also like Ratnadeep. We are supplying it to. So in Hyderabad, we are the biggest right now. So we used to, so the exact bricks value for the papaya is, it should be red in color, but the water shouldn't be oozing out. If the water is oozing out, they will not, the quality person will reject
Correct.
it.
Correct.
So but sometime you will get the ripened one, the water is oozing out, and sometime you will get semi-ripened ones. So what we are doing is the ripened ones, we're actually building a beauty brand, small beauty brand. This is not a product right now. It is in the innovative stage. So we are trying to build face mask, something like that, because we used to have a lot of food, like fruit wastage, and the fruits are very good in quality, and we are getting the wastage. So I don't want to just throw it away. So we want to make some product out of it. And as you said, ki last time the pineapple you did Tetra Pak, but right now the organization I'm working with, the founder, he is very particular about quality, and he doesn't want to do anything about preservative and nothing. So the product that we are shipping right now, it is no preservative, no water, no nothing. It's just the juices. Like if you're drinking our juice, it is just the juices only. So what we are trying to do is we are starting to make some beauty products, and with the semi-ripened ones, we are actually giving it to one shelter home which is nearby, and they cook it. I am from Odisha, so in Odisha we use raw papaya in dal with dal to cook the dal. So we call it dalma only.
Lovely,
So
lovely,
yeah,
lovely.
so we are
Let
giving
me
it to
add, let me add there. This is some food knowledge which I gathered in my working. Raw papaya in Muslim countries per se is a very big ingredient for cooking meat. This is an insight which I like to give you. If you can sort your papaya. One is the most ripe one, which cannot be shipped to the customer. Second is the fresh one, which is going as it is, after packaging. The third one is raw. Now, neither it can be put into salad, nor it can be thrown away. So what would be happening is you would be throwing it away. But here, what I'm saying is, what you can do here is, you can immediately make, half kg or 1 kg package, and talk to non-vegetarian QSRs or maybe, hotels, and supply them, because it's something which is happening very well in Pakistan. They use with onions and papaya, and the cooking time is half, because papaya has a very good enzyme which digests raw meat into processed meat.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjeev. Thank you so much for that insight. I'd like to also give the floor to Mr. Nikhil Bhatia. He had a question. So, Mr. Nikhil, please, you can ask your questions now.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahul. And Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nikhil Bhatia, and I am speaking on the behalf of Man Can Core Ingredient Private Limited, Bareilly. We hail from flavor and fragrance industry, basically. So my question goes to Mr. Milind. We have been talking about various kinds of sustainability and traceability practices. Since I also run a backward integration project for a mint product, basically. Just wanted, there is nothing like a question or something, just wanted to have a little bit insight on the cost implication. If we have geotagging, geofencing, soil testings, and maintaining data for traceability, backward integration, then on the other sides of the plate, we have a cost implication of the particular product.
Absolutely.
Right? But we need to have a awareness amongst all the consumers plus the companies who are getting it. For example, I am working for a particular client. That client would give me that pricing since we have been into the agreement, but not all the clients or consumers, they would not understand the importance of geotagging or having traceability data. So just wanted to have your insights on this.
No, we are also facing the same issue, exactly the same issue, because see, definitely it will definitely have an impact or charge some premium for that, so that consumer has that kind of an advantage that they can trace backward. But right now, see, right now there is no specific cost available. Right now, there are very limited organized players in the country who can provide this end to end for us, and hence there is a competition which is yet to come, which will definitely reduce the cost. Because first time I have seen, which Rahul has shown us, a soil testing machine, which is like a 90-second soil testing machine, and hence I believe that will drastically drop the per soil test cost for the farmer, and which will definitely have an impact, end-to-end impact for us. Because right now what is happening for a farmer, once the farmer has to, for example, for one soil testing, a farmer has to pay 1,500 bucks. Farmer also tried to avoid that multiple times. Now this has a direct impact on the product yield and the product quality as well. With such kind of an advancement, I don't know what will the per cost of it, but definitely it will be way lower than what farmer is facing right now, or companies like us.
Right.
So if in end-to-end, see, it is easy for us to say, according to me, in a country like India, where 80% of the population is still living in tier 2 and above cities, and the disposable income is still less than 10%. It is easy to say for us to get digitization end to end, but practically it is difficult because it's difficult to make money out of it. And hence we have to, there are two parts to it. Either the people, those who really want that kind of a transparency, they are ready to pay, number one, and hence we can introduce it to certain sector or certain category of SKUs for them, or this technology becomes so cheap for us that we can provide it to everyone. So there are two solutions, and there is a way forward for it for us.
Yeah, totally understood. Thank you, Milind. Just for the information of all, so we have been working on, I mean, I can proudly say that we have been working on maintaining the 100% traceability and sustainability to our product, which is menthol mint. Wow. And I am basically heading that project into Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I believe Mr. Raman also had some question. Mr. Raman, you're on mute. Mr. Raman, you're still on mute. Srinidhi, can you please unmute Mr. Raman?
Sorry. You're okay now?
Yeah.
I'm audible now?
All good.
Yeah. So before I move to the question for Mr. Milind, my colleague Sanjeev mentioned about raw papaya. Now, raw papaya is consumed in parts of Bengal, Kerala, Odisha to some extent. And incidentally, there is a lunch of papaya parathas in my house today. So those who can join me in next 1 hour's time after we finish. Now, moving to the question of what I had in mind, Milind suggested, Milind had an opinion about the sourcing of the agriculture produce. Now we are staying in North India, Delhi, Gurgaon. A drive which takes us about 2 hours. I was there just yesterday. I was there. It took us about 4 hours because of the farmers' agitation, which has not taken place, but precautions taken by the government. So we had to use double the time in community. Now you are saying, Milind claimed that, or you have suggested that you have problem in procuring the raw materials. Other side, the farmers are claiming that their produce is wasted on the roads. So who is to bridge that gap? Food is being wasted on the road because they are not given the price. Industry wants to buy something. Now, probably this will, to the extent I can visualize in my mind, it is always the demand and supply which has taken place in that industry, whichever industry. There are big commodity players like Elcom, Cargill, Olam, right, who sort of influence this business of demand and supply, depending on the stocking capacities. So is it that the smaller players who are coming out, like I just read somewhere, there's a bottling plant coming up in UP, etc. They PepsiCo, Nestle, they are operating in Punjab. They don't have any problems. We don't have problems of procuring a Nestle chocolate or a Lay's in my house or wherever I want. That means the players who can, they are the big players who are influencing the demand and supply. So is that the problem the smaller players who are trying to come into the economy are facing? Number one, possibly. And then Ranjit said, best quality versus the price. Price is always a phenomena of demand and supply. So, especially in a country like India or the entire Southeast Asia, there are probably the developed countries. I don't think they are more than they contribute more than 10% of the population, and all the market forces, what we attempt to do to reach the market, it is for at least 90%. So,
Ramanji, I can also add to it. As you mentioned about the chocolates, because we are also a raw material. We also do procurement of the raw material of cocoa butter, cocoa powder, and other things. See, what I meant is, you are rightly said, it's a factor of demand and supply. The major issue right now, I mean, I'm not talking about farmer agitation. I'm not talking about Nestle. What I want to tell you, see, there is a loss within the supply chain itself. You rightly said it is a factor of demand and supply, but the problem is, are we factoring the demand rightly right now across the supply chain for the next 6 months? And if we are not factoring the demand rightly for next 6 months or next 3 months or so, it is difficult to plan in advance what we need to procure. In terms of supply, maybe demand will be there for after next 3 months. For example, there will be a certain demand for the chocolate, which is there in the market. But are we in a position, first of all, to factor that into account when we talk about raw material? Because see, cocoa in itself, raw cocoa in itself, the prices have increased 3 times, or 2.5 times to be precise, in the last 4 months, and has a direct impact. Prices of makhana, for example, in the Bihar, makhana was a normal commodity a year back. Yeah. And I remember we used to procure makhana at a price of 250 to 300 per kg. Right now, the prices are, I'm talking about from the farmer, prices are 900 per kg within the 1 year timeline. See, because suddenly the demand is there in the market, but the problem is we do not know right now. We do not have that kind of a tools available, which is as efficient as possible to give us even 70% of demand forecasting accuracy within the food supply chain. For companies like Lay's, companies like Nestle, product like Lay's, for a company like Nestle, yes, for them, because their historical data is so big that they have that kind of a advantage. But on a grassroots level, when I know Cadbury or Mondelez, I would say they're also facing the similar challenge which we are facing as a chocolate player. But they have that kind of a bargain power. They have that kind of a money power that, okay, they can also keep the, So and demand supply also you can say it is one is based on the harvesting, second is it is artificially created. For example, big players, they have cold stored all, they have procured makhanas this season and cold stored it in Delhi itself. So you get makhana at a cheaper price in Delhi if you want to source it as compared to Bihar,
Yeah,
which is the main factoring. Or you get apple cheaper in Delhi because in Kudli cold storage all have put it than the Himachal apple, because so there are multiple factors which is in place in between as well, which are creating efficiencies. And that's why when food wastage is 22-23%, which is the data. Reality is even more than that. And I'm not talking about that food waste which is coming from the consumer. I'm talking about food waste within the supply chain.
Correct.
Which could reach to the consumer otherwise.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I got your point. Yes.
That was a very good answer. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mr. Milind. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raman. So with that, I think that was the last question for today, unless anyone else has a question. We'd like to again thank you, the speakers, all the audiences, for giving us your valuable time and being on the board for today's session. I'd like to end this session by thanking you again and looking forward to see you again on our next session series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck. Good day.
Good day.
Paratha is still available.